I don't usually recommend doing this, but it won't take long for you to learn how to do it either. All you need is a desire to correct God. And of course, we remember what happened the first time someone tried that. So as I said, I don't recommend you do this, but I'm going to show you how so that you'll recognize it when it happens. All you need is a Bible commentary and a lexicon. Keep in mind these instructions are if you want to correct God. Then approach the pulpit with your notes, whether it's a faculty meeting, school lesson, Sunday school, or actual preaching. And when you come to a particular Greek word in the text, you simply start talking about that word. This will make everyone listening to you say to themselves, "Wow, this person knows Greek." Or they'll say, "Boy, that guy really knows something." Yeah, but not Bible. Now, I almost forgot to tell you the most important rule if you're going to correct God like these scholars do. According to the smart, educated, good, godly, and dedicated scholars of today, they follow rule number 1. The King James Bible is always wrong. Now, once again, I do not hold to any of this. This is what they think. Now, what you do is you locate the Greek word. Now, any Greek word will do. Doesn't matter. Consult your lexicon to see all of the numerous definitions that Greek word has. So here we have a word, and it has 6 definitions. A translator could have chosen any of these. Now, you then tell your congregation or your class that you're teaching that the King James translators chose definition number 2 when they got to this particular passage that you're covering. Now, they came to that conclusion based upon the context and a lot of other issues, but you don't necessarily need to get into all that. All you do is say, it would have been really good if they would have chosen this definition instead. And then you talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And you make up all kinds of things. You say, here they are being carried upwards. I think it should be lead. After all, Jesus is our leader and he leads people. I mean, you just carry in the groceries. But a real leader leads people. And that's how they do it week after week after week. Now, later on, in the next chapter even, you'll see where that same Greek word has popped up, and this time the King James translators have chosen the definition that you were all so gung-ho about earlier. Now, question, did the King James translators get it right this time? Oh, not so fast. Remember the rule about the King James translators that they follow. According to them, the King James translators are always wrong. So this time, if they translate a word the way you would have earlier, all you need to do is start talking about how they could have chosen a different translation, or the very one you were complaining about earlier. And that's how it's done. Week after week after week. It accomplishes nothing. The scholars, or the people that want to correct God, they don't really think they're correcting God. They just think they're enhancing the scriptures for you. Now, we shouldn't be too hard on the Bible corrector. After all, he is just following along with what he was taught in Bible school. This is what his teachers taught him to do, and they simply just do what they've been taught. They go to school for many years to learn all this, but they don't learn much Bible. Now, let's say that your wife is going to start preparing a big meal for a whole lot of people. I mean, she spends a whole lot of time working on it, and then prepares a great big banquet hall. I mean, everything's going to be just perfect. And all kinds of real famous people are going to show up. People from your church. And the guy that always critiques the Bible and decides to correct it from time to time. We're going to call him the critic. Now, he'll take one look at the fantastic spread of food that your wife has prepared, and he's going to start criticizing a few things. He's going to say, if you just use a certain pinch of salt, then these biscuits would turn out a whole lot fluffier. Or, you should have put in a different type of seasoning on these over here. Or maybe if you'd have cooked the bread at a different temperature for a longer period of time, it would be much, much better. Now, are you going to think to yourself, wow, this guy really knows something about food? No, you better show this guy the door real quickly or your wife's going to kill him. But you wouldn't let him talk about your wife's cooking like that, but you would let him criticize and poke holes through the Bible left and right. Now, another way you can correct the Bible is to get an interlinear, or some form of text that has a Greek manuscript, and then they'll put it up against the King James manuscript. Now, what they won't usually tell you is the Greek manuscript they consult is not the ones that we got our King James Bible from. So then all you have to do is point out to some person who's newly saved or who believes the Bible. You wouldn't want one of those around, would you? You just say, now notice here in the Greek text, we have in the book of Acts, chapter 8, here's verse 36 and 37. But you'll notice that there is no verse 37 in the Greek text. Why, those pesky King James people, they inserted that into God's Word. Well, no, they didn't. It belongs in God's Word. Your Greek text is the culprit. You're using the wrong Greek. But many people believe them, and they'll show them their interlinear or their book that has both the Greek text and the King James side by side. And a person who doesn't really know what's going on or know like the things I'm telling you will go away thinking, wow, I saw that with my own eyes. He had a book about it. And that's how it's done. Now, I've just shown you how to play the Greek game. It didn't even take 25 minutes to show this, probably less than 10. Now, if it takes you more than an hour to figure this out, you must be slow. And some students spend 7 years learning how to do this. Well, I wouldn't trust them with a fork at dinner time, quite honestly. But now, since I know how to play the game, I reserve the right to play the game alongside the scholars.